Welcome to the Ascend Your Success podcast. Whether you're just starting out or are a veteran looking to grow your business, you're in the right place. Join us to learn how to achieve financial freedom while working and living life on your own terms. Hear valuable insights, strategies, and interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Get ready to achieve the success you've always dreamed of. Ready? Let's go.
What's going on, guys? My name is Wyatt Reed, and this is the Ascend Your Success podcast. And today I got my business partner, Jacob Ninan, on, and we are going to be talking about the next episode of our How to Get Started in Real Estate series, which is going to be how to run numbers. We're going to talk about what is ARV, how to find ARV, and then how do we run the numbers to decide what strategy we're going to be using, because last time we talked about strategies, wholesaling, flipping, seller financing, rentals, things like that. So now we're going to talk about how to run the numbers on these leads to decide what we're going to do with them, right? And so for those of you guys that are listening on just the podcast, we're going to be sharing our screen and walking through Zillow, walking through something we call Rent-O-Meter, walking through our calculator. So if you're just listening to this, we're going to do our best to try to articulate what we're doing, but you need to go to the YouTube page and watch this on YouTube on video. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Jacob, while I'm working on this, my screen, talk about like the first thing that we have to do when we're running numbers, it doesn't matter what strategy we use, is to find ARV. So will you talk to us a little bit about like what is ARV?
Yeah, so you'll hear that term thrown around all the time in the real estate world, and it's just a abbreviation or lingo that stands for after repair value. Now, ARV can mean a couple different things depending on the strategy. You know, if you're flipping a house, obviously the ARV is going to be based on like what a fully renovated house is in that particular area. You know, sometimes we look at, we might throw out loosely ARV, but if we're talking like seller finance, then we're looking at, well, what's the amount of the house going to be worth when we get done doing what little bit of repairs we might do in order to get a favorable appraisal or whatnot. But, the long and short of it is after repair value, after you complete whatever renovations you're going to do to that property, whether really good or middle of the row repairs, what is the value of that house now that you have completed the repairs you're going to do?
Yep, 100%. So that's the first number that bases the foundation of all running your numbers, running all of your numbers, right? So that's the first and most important number that we have to get. And so hopefully this is working and you can see my screen, and we are at Zillow.com, and we're going to go straight off the dashboard where it says search. We're going to run numbers on a property that I actually just got the appraisal back. So I know for a fact that this ARV is good. It's going to be easier to work with.
And just a caveat, guys, this is all free stuff.
Yeah.
And this, whether you run a big operation or not, people are still using tools like Zillow every single day that cost nothing to use.
Yep, 100%. So you can see that this is a house that I just recently bought for $110,000. Just real quick to tell you a little bit about it, I got this property from a wholesaler, and I did nothing but paint the walls and fix a little bit of the trim on the outside and done a deep clean. I didn't even put appliances, and I think I left the old appliances there. Bought it for $110,000, did less than $10,000 to the property, and that's where we're at right now. So now we've got to determine if you're going to refinance the property, and, what is that property going to appraise for? That's what the ARV is. It's what is this property going to appraise for? So first thing we got to do is find the ARV. So we're at Zillow. We back off to the map. We scroll in a little bit so we know exactly. If you back off the map from that actual property and scroll in, don't move the map, but just hit the plus button to scroll in. It automatically goes out to that street and centers that property, right? So we've done that. You need to go over here to where it says sold. When you're first getting on it, it'll probably be on the for sale tab. You want to make sure you're on the recently sold. Now, your comparable, your ARVs are going to be based off of what has already sold, not what's for sale, not, anything like that. It's just what is sold. Now, it is good to look at the for sales when you're flipping, because you can see what's my competition going to be, what's sitting on the market, what price range is sitting on the market, things like that.
Yeah. Also, in a market like right now, we're looking at September of 2025. No matter when you end up watching this, if you have any recollection, the market is somewhat slow. Interest rates had risen. They're starting to slowly slow down, drop. But anyway, regardless, when you're in a market where it's kind of, you're not sure what it's going on, it's really important to look at pendings and on market so you can kind of see what kind of price reductions have people had to do. If they are under contract or pending, like what price point are they at? It's not, that's not a comp. Appraisers will never use that. But as an investor, it's just having a good idea of what's going on in the market if you don't already know.
And for you guys that are listening, they're like, what? They keep using this word comp. It's literally short for comparable, which means it's like the subject property that we're looking at, right? Close to the same bed, same bath, close to the same square footage, close to the same style of house, right? So if I'm looking at a 1,400 square foot brick rancher, I'm not going to be using a 2,500 square foot property to comp that property, right? It's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So,
And one thing I will say, comping is more of an art than it is a science. So don't beat yourself up too bad about this. It is going to be literally deal by deal, but the general rules that we're about to show you and the process is generally how it goes. There's always going to be outliers or whatnot, but practice makes perfect with this for sure.
yeah, and don't, like he said, don't beat yourself up, because honestly, this in the beginners community that we run this is what we spend the most time doing, is checking people's numbers, making sure they've got accurate numbers. We're looking at houses and we're going through and we're holding their hand and baby stepping them all the way through and just giving them that confidence of being able to back their numbers up and do it, right? So there's our property. It's right here. And so we're looking, go over here to the more column, by the way, start there and scroll all the way to the bottom. This should be set to no min, no max. If you're getting on for the first time, it will be set to no min, no max. And then I scroll down to the very bottom, sold in the last 6 months. Now, we'd really love to be sold in the last 3 months, but 6 months is pretty much our cap, especially in the changing markets. Now, if we were back in 2019, man, we could comp like a lot more loosely, I feel like, right? Because the market was just amazing. People were getting 20,000, 30,000 over asking price. But now that we're in this way more conservative market and ever changing market, we don't go over 6 months unless it's like more rural, right?
Yeah.
And
in the less populated areas, there's obviously nothing you can do about that because less population means less sales.
And we try to stay within a mile of our subject property, preferably within a half a mile, but we stay within a mile. So we're going to apply that. You can see we have some more comps. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to hover over some of these and see, are they roughly same square foot? Are they roughly look similar? So I look at this property and I say, okay, well, hey, it does have a garage. Mine's got a patio. It's not brick. It's the same as vinyl, right? It's about 100 square foot bigger than mine, but it's on the same street. It's sold in the last 6 months. We don't know what the beds and baths are, but if it's a 1,500 square foot
I'm gonna
house,
assume it's at least 3 bedrooms.
yeah, it's at least 3 bedrooms. So I would probably use that as a comparable property, right? Let's look at some more. 80. So that's a brick rancher. I'm not quick to use that because mine's not a brick rancher, but it is a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it's a couple hundred square feet bigger than mine. So I'll put it on the maybe list, but it's not a direct comparable property, right? It's a brick rancher. Let's see here. Let's look at the 168 off Edgewood. So it's 1,500 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath. It's not a brick rancher. So if it's not like a good solid picture, you can click on into them and you can kind of see what they look like. I think something cool about this property was, so this no- about my subject property that we're looking for the ARV on, is that mine was not updated, right? It was kind of outdated, but something cool about the comps is that they weren't completely updated either. So it kind of went hand in hand with some of these. You can see that this one's kind of been updated, but there are some things that are still older on it. Similar tile, similar flooring as mine. They've still got some of this wood paneling in the kitchen, right? Kind of older school appliances. So I would probably say that's a good comp too. Um, let's see here. Let's look at this 205 one. 205, 1,800 square foot. So that's bigger and brick, but I would still keep that on the maybe. So if I don't have enough of these style that I said that they are good comps, then I will start throwing those in. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to add up 100% equal, but these are all very, very close to the same square footage, right? And so it may not be tit for tat value. See, I wouldn't use that. It's 2,400
We
square
try
foot.
to use our general rule is usually around plus or minus 250 square feet.
Yep.
Sometimes you can stretch it a little bit, but plus or minus meaning, if your property is 1,500, then I'm probably going to go up to like 1,750 or down to 1,300 or whatever that is usually, unless the property my comp is smaller and has favorable value, then I know, okay, well, at the very least, mine should be worth at least this,
Right, for
but
sure. And again, it's not an exact science,
mm,
but mine actually appraised for less than what I thought it was going to appraise for. I thought it was going to appraise for around 180, 190. It actually come in and appraised for 150. Now, I just done a Facebook post on this, so you can go back and look at what I had to say about it. But when you get a short appraisal, when it doesn't come in exactly what you want, if you're looking for buy and holds, this is different for flips because that could be bad on flips, right? But don't freak out. You can always get another appraisal. You can always talk to the bank and challenge that appraisal. So I was able to challenge this appraisal and I was able to go and get comparables. And the reason I brought this up was because you said like 250 square foot and their parameters were 350 square foot
mhm.
within 6 months or within months within a half a mile or within a mile. And so like it's different for different banks on appraisals and stuff like that and their parameters, but don't freak out. Just let's have a conversation with the bank, with the lender. Let's try to figure this out and see what we can do to try to get a better appraisal,
Well,
right?
guys, also one thing to note, we're doing these comparables for the purposes of building offers, right? So if I'm building my offers conservatively and I present my offer based on conservative data, I'm making, I would say, wise offers. So once you actually get the property and you buy it, if you buy it on conservative numbers and then you turn around and you have a shortage on your appraisal, probably is not going to make that big of a deal because you bought it so conservatively. And on the flip side of that, a lot of times we underwrite our deals. I mean, we always underwrite our deals conservatively, but we end up making more money than we anticipate a lot of times because we underwrote on conservative numbers. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, you're going to miss out on deals and opportunities. Well, yeah, there's probably deals and opportunities we miss out on, but I'm okay laying my head down at night knowing I missed out on a deal that was a question mark. I'm not going to buy off of, assuming I can make whatever. I'm going to buy off of what the numbers say and what I really feel. And that is how you maintain and stay in business, not I mean, we all take chance and there's risk involved. But what I'm saying is, if we're giving you these tools and we're telling you what you should do and you're going outside of that, you might win the second time, but eventually it will bite you. Maybe by that time, you've got enough profit and hedged enough financially that you could take a loss. But, it's not this investing game. The longevity piece comes by taking calculated risk, not just, gunslinging. So,
Right. So you can already tell, and I would just to add to that, tight deals are are very risky
We
deals.
see them all the time, and the people that are most successful in our community are the ones that stick to the conservative numbers, and the ones that we see that are on a roller coaster ride, who have all the knowledge in the world and completely capable of doing this, are the ones that consistently do tight deals.
And so, like, just a picture that I want to paint for you guys is, if you're looking at this right now and you see mine is at 110, and then you see all of these other properties that have sold and they're around the 170, 160, 200, 180 area, that tends to be a pretty good situation that you're in. So here's something that I think we're going to disagree on, or not, maybe not disagree on, but we look at from two different points of view. For me, when I run my numbers, I do a price per square foot. So, like, for example, this one is $180,000. If you divide 180,000 divided by 1719, that's the square foot, right? 180 divided by 1719, which is the square foot, that gives you $104 a square foot, right? And so what I do is I take 4 or 5 of these and I say, what is the average price per square foot? And let's just say I get 140, which I think is what it was, or 130, 140, somewhere around there. And I'll go to mine and I say, okay, well, I'm 1,420 square foot. I multiply that 130, 140 times 1,420, and that kind of gives me what I think it's going to appraise for, right? And so you guys do
Yeah.
something a little different.
Well, I mean, I understand the cost per square foot rule or line of thinking, and I'm not going to argue against it. I'm just really a big proponent of apples for apples, but there are a lot of times where you can't find apples for apples comps, and you do find yourself having to calculate cost per square foot. Those are typically the scenarios where we will do that, is when we can't find a bunch of comps or a good bit of comps. Then we start looking at average of cost per square foot. But if I'm in an area that has good sales history, I'm going to let the sales history trump the cost per square foot. Doesn't mean I won't factor it in and maybe look at it for my list price side. Like, if I buy, and this just goes back to my conservative nature and how we conservatively comp, I'm going to conservatively comp based on apples for apples. But when, let's say it's a flip project and we go to relist it, yeah, I might turn around and go, you know what? All these other houses are selling for, we might have bought on assuming we would list for around $105 per square foot, but the average cost per square foot in this area is around 130, or whatever the number is, we'll list at that point. So it doesn't come off to anybody else as, oh, they're listing like way too high, but no, we're just listing, because agents look at that. Realtors and agents, they look really hard at cost per square foot. When you go to relist and, these agents are looking at showing properties, they're not going to bat an eye at bringing their client to look at that house, because they already know that the average cost per square foot in this area is 130 or whatever the number is. So yeah, it's not that we don't do it. We just prefer to have apples for apples.
Yep.
And then we use the cost per square foot to be a little bit more adventurous on the retail side of it once we go to sell it.
Yep. And again, neither one is wrong. You line 100 investors up, and they're going to give you some different way that they run numbers. They run ARV or whatever. So just do is the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Is
do.
like, don't just get caught up in all this and not take action. You need to be taking action. So we use 3 to 4 to 5 comps, comparable properties, to figure out what we expect the ARV to be, right? And so, knowing what we know, my ARV is 180 because it appraised for 180, right? And so let's talk about how to run numbers and look at different strategies. Now, we're going to look at my calculator real quick. That just makes it much easier. You can see, and if you don't have this calculator, DM us, me or Jacob, and say free bundle or whatever, and we'll send you our free bundle that's got this calculator in it. But so let's look at it as a flip, right? We know that the ARV, the after repair value, and I've got all of these, I've got notes on all of these that kind of tell you exactly what you need to be looking at and doing, right? So ARV we know is going to be 180, and I didn't do a flip grade rehab. Now, if I would have done a flip grade rehab, it would have probably been like a $30 a square foot, $35 a square foot rehab. So let's just say for this example that we did that, $30 times 1420 would have been around $42,600. And what I do, and I don't know about you, but I round up, so I would have said
Yeah,
$45,000.
we usually when we're estimating rehab, it's usually done in increments of 5 grand, if
Mhm.
not 10 grand sometimes.
So $45,000 in the rehab, look, it automatically sets your resale value, which your resale value is the fees such as closing cost, and agent
Utilities, property
fees,
taxes, agents fees,
yeah,
commission.
stuff like that. And
Mhm.
so we run that at an 8%. Some people run it at 10%. It depends on what you guys have a certain percentage you guys run it at?
Well, we break it down line item.
Line item by
Yeah,
line
but
item.
it's typically around 8%, I
Right.
think, is the general rule of thumb there.
So you don't have to mess with this. It automatically generates it from what the sales value is. We put $45,000 in. Now, again, I don't know about you guys, but for a flip, I'm getting started. I'm not making less than $30,000 on
Mhm.
a flip,
Mhm.
because once you get in and you start this flip at $30,000 net profit, by the time you're done with it, it's probably going to be somewhere around $18 to $23,000, more than likely. Because, like I said in the last episode, it's never gonna go exactly the way you think it's gonna go. You plan it to go, right? So, that's why we
Yeah,
never
and
do
that goes
less.
both ways. Yeah, like we did a flip 2 months ago that we underwrite to make 30 grand and we made $52,000 on
Mm,
it. That was awesome. We just sold one yesterday that we underwrote to make 40 grand on and we made 24 grand on. So you understand that things happen, markets shift, rehabs. The particular house we sold yesterday, we bought the house. We were at like, I think 50K rehab. Once we got in, we realized the plumbing was really jacked up under the slab and had to do all kinds of work that cost us another like 10 grand. Yeah. You want to, again, be conservative but you do need to have a baseline, right? So it's a goal from inception. When I'm underwriting this deal, if I don't see a pathway to make at least 30 grand, chances are I'm probably not going to do it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to make my offer based on all that. But if the person, the seller, the wholesaler, whoever can't get to that price point, now I have to weigh my risk. Like, is it worth it to do this? You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody has their metric on what they want to make. There's some people that are flipping 10 plus homes a month and are like, hey, if I can make at least 15 or 20 grand per house times 10, that's a lot of money. But then there's people like us who will flip one here or there. Our operation, we typically try to flip 3 or 4 at a time or whatever. And so, but we still have a certain risk tolerance where we want to make at least, 30 grand.
yep,
One guy I know that flips a lot of houses, his rule of thumb is he wants to make 10% of what his list price is. So if you're flipping a $30,000 house, then he wants to make at least 30 grand. But on the flip side of that, it's like, well, if you're flipping a $180,000 house, you want to make 18 grand.
mm,
I'm not really down for that, but your numbers are what you are. Just make sure you set that ahead of time, the expectation of what you want to do.
yep, yeah. So if you keep going down, we've got holding, closing, and hard money. That's what
Mhm.
HC and HM stands for. So on this, it's going to be a moving number. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to calculate because it's always moving, and it's based upon your purchase price and your rehab. So like you don't know what your purchase price and your rehab is going to be. You're trying to get numbers to get to that, right? And so we estimate that. We estimate it pretty high. We're at 12% right now. Like for us, for example, we have a fund, so our money is cheaper than if you just go straight to a hard money lender, right? And so that would be less for us, but I feel like 12% is pretty conservative, especially for somebody just starting out. And so that automatically calculates for rehab and that price. So it says if I wanted to flip this property, I should have got this and made $30,000. I should have got it at $68,000. And so you can see, because I only did a $10,000 rehab on it, like I'm not trying to flip it. I'm trying to buy and hold it and keep it long term, right? So you can see the difference. I wasn't going to be able to get that seller to 68. There was no way. And I'm not going to start at 68 if that's my max offer price, right? That's my max offer. So I'm going to start at probably like 60, maybe even 58, right? When I first start dealing with these guys and negotiating. So there was no way that I was going to get these guys this low. It was already listed for like 130, 140, I believe. And so I got them down to 110.
But that's where strategy comes into play.
Right, exactly. So I know, like looking at this deal, knowing what I know about it already, I know that I'm not going to be able to flip it, right? And I've got these broken down as far as wholesale.
And we'll go ahead and skip past wholesale, because if you can't buy it at 68 to flip it, to wholesale it, you'd have to get it for 58, 48, 38.
Right.
A lower than what a flipper could, so you have room to flip it or wholesale it to the flippers.
Exactly. You go through the same process though: ARV, rehab, resale, all of that, right? And then on the BRRRR method that we were talking about on that strategy, if you're putting a renter in here, you've got to meet both of these rules. It's not just one, it's both of these rules. So whichever one comes out the lowest, that's where you've got to be, right? So let's just say I was going to try to get a tenant, $180,000. The bank's only going to give you 80%. Some banks only do 75%. Yeah. And so I actually think, I adjusted that for 75%. So it's actually 75%. We did a $10,000 rehab, $1,000
I want to stop right there for 1 second. You see the difference in cost in rehab from a flip and this other method, whether it's a rental or a seller finance. You got, most of you know why, but for you that don't, it clearly is going to be more money to renovate a property that you're flipping, because now you're selling it to an owner occupant that's buying it to live in it. And the amount of emotion and just feedback that people are going to want to give on a house that they plan to buy, like it's going to be theirs. You're going to have to put a lot more attention to detail and do a lot more things to sell that home. Now, when you're going to rent the home or seller finance the home, these people are in a much different situation. Rental, there's not all the emotion. They're like, look, I just need a place to live. I'm not owning this place. Like, I'm not, you still want to make it nice. We're not trying to be slumlords over here. Like, you still want to have a nice place for people to call home. But the expectation is much lower. Like, if you flip a house, you need all stainless steel appliances and probably granite countertops. You rent a home, hey, as long as it's got good working good working appliances, and kitchen cabinets and counters look good, you're okay. So like he had mentioned way earlier in this podcast, he did paint and left the existing appliances in this particular property because of the X strategies. You're seeing a gap here. Rehab alone, you're already seeing the raise and what the max offer price is going to be. So
yeah, for sure. And so if you're going to rent and you're going to put a tenant in there, I know what some of you guys are going to say. Bigger Pockets taught me that if I can get 1%, like I'm going to cash flow. I think that's bullcrap.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's buying on.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with interest rates, with the way they are.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy right now. And I've got some that are 1.2% that aren't even cash flowing that great. So we run it based off of 1.2%. So if, you need to find the rent, which is, I think, in that area for that house, it was, I think I've seen some that have rented for $1,800. If you want, you can go on Zillow completely free and you can see what houses are renting for in that area, because there's a rental tab. But also you can spend like $12 a month or $14 a month on this software called Rentometer, and it'll pull a whole report for you and kind of tell you what the average is per bedroom, whatever. It gives you a whole in-depth thing. For this, we're going to say it's around $1,600. So rent at 1.2% would be $130. Rehab, 10. Hard money costs still going to be similar, and then our max offer price is $108, right? So technically, I should have got it under $108, right? But
well, we won't go into why, but there's things you could offset with that, the down payment, stuff like that. So there's one thing else I want to point out with we're not trying to veer anybody from not flipping. We're just trying to show you when there's deals That deal that he bought for 110, flippers passed on. But because he had more tools in his tool belt, he was able to purchase it for the seller finance. But on top of the rehab going from 45 to 10, so that's a $35,000 difference. He's also not needing a $30,000 profit on the back end of reselling it. So that's another number. When you're looking at the buy and hold, you're making your money over time. You're not getting rich today. You're making your money over a period of time. So he just eliminated a lot of money that needed to be made up front because it was an in and out versus a long-term play. The purpose of us showing how to underwrite and come up with the numbers initially was to then go plug them into the different strategies. And now you go, okay, which strategy A makes most sense for even being able to obtain this deal? And then B would be, okay, am I positioned to even do one of these? All of them have their place. If you're in an operation where you need money, like, hey, I've got 3 seller finance or 3 rentals going on, but nothing's producing any income, but I could turn around and flip or wholesale this house and have 30 grand to pay my bills for the next 6 months, then probably should flip it.
Right.
But for the sake of the situation, he bought the house at 110. They wanted 130, 140 to begin with. They weren't going to take $68,000 for the house.
Right.
Not anytime soon anyway. So here he's showing plugging in all the same numbers and just the different strategies, how he was able to unlock a deal, and he's going to be producing income off of that thing.
Yep. And so this is just for rentals. It says that it'd be a good property just to rent, right? At these numbers. But I actually seller finance this property. I get the cash flow, but I also got I think it was 10,000, 15,000 down from them. Not only was I able to pull it appraised for 180, I was able to pull my hard money lender their money back and give it to them and take over an asset that was cash flowing every single month. But I also was able to get a wholesale fee, right? A $10,000, $15,000 upfront from these people. So I collected both. I collected capital and cash flow.
Yeah.
And now I have a property that I don't have to maintain. I don't have to pay taxes, insurance, any of that stuff on because they're seller financing it from me. So that you can see and understand why like I lean more towards the seller financing. But like Jacob said, there are always benefits to these other strategies too. Like there are better tax benefits for rentals, right? But it depends on your walk of life and where you're at right now. For me, like when I first got started in real estate, I didn't care about tax, implications. I cared about I need to replace
feed my family.
Yeah, I need to feed my family.
Yeah.
I need to replace my
Yeah.
income, right? And so that's how we are running numbers. That's how we are finding ARV, figuring out which strategy we want to use in the process. So, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's pretty comprehensive. I mean, that we tried to make it as basic, but also as helpful as possible. Again, guys, it's not a science. It's more of an art. It's going to take practice and it is going to vary property to property. Now, your market specific, you'll become better suited to understand your market and, things you'll just learn along the way. But also that's another reason why it's so powerful to have community. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we're inside of our community, inside the school community, whether it's the beginners group or the mastermind, where somebody's unsure of their numbers, they drop the details of their deal in the school. Sometimes it's not even us that responds, it's other people in the community that are doing deals and know what they're talking about, or saying, hey, I like your numbers, everything looks good to me, or hey, here's what I'm seeing, I think you're off a little bit, maybe you're too low, maybe you're too high. But that comes as being a part of a community. You know what I'm saying? So that's another powerful thing about being with the group. But yeah, that's all I had on that piece.
Yeah, man. This is where a lot of people stumble. It's where they overthink. They overthink. Oh well, I don't know about this ARV or I don't know about that ARV. I don't think my rehab's right. And that's where I struggled. And thank God I had a mentor to teach me and walk me through that and give me his confidence in running these numbers and making these offers. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. If you watch this whole series and you take action on everything we've said, you will be able to do a deal by yourself. But for me, this is my own personal opinion. It was so much easier for me to ride the coattail of somebody who had already done it, used their resources, have them hold my hand and lead me through that process. And so my hope is that you will be able to take all of this and do your own deal. But also, if you need that help, like, we're here. Go to ascendyoursuccess.com and fill out that form, and we will talk to you personally about where you're at, what you're doing, how can we help you? Are we a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us? And we'll hold your hand every step of the way. People call us and text us and post on school all the time. And it's what we love to do. We love to help people be successful like we've become successful, because if we can do it, anybody
Yeah.
else can do it.
There's plenty of deals out there. There's no lack of deals. We're not worried about that. I just get a lot of fulfillment from seeing people do better for themselves and just, go after their passions. And I don't know, to me, that's more of a legacy than anything,
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are looking to connect, for sure, hit us up, at the very least, you know, hit us up, DM us the free bundle thing. Let us send you some information. Let us send you some resources and some tools. Even if you talk to me or watch this again, I mean, at least get the free stuff, guys.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But if this has helped you, if any of these series of episodes have helped you, man, shoot us a DM and just tell us we're on the right
Yeah,
trail.
we need it. We need encouragement too, guys. We like
Yeah.
to and also feedback, things you want to hear.
Yeah.
You guys have things specifically you want to hear about. We're all open ears to that. We want to give you guys good content, like we said in the initial episode, the very first one. We just want to give enough to where you guys can do deals. One of Wyatt's mentors said, like, if your free content isn't good enough for people to do deals, then you're not doing it. You're not giving good content.
Right.
So we don't want to do this leading on and bait and switch stuff. Like, we want to give you guys the real things that you can use today to go do deals and change your life and your family's lives.
Well, that was good. That was a good.
Awesome.
That was a good outro, right? Well, hey, whether you're in or out, holler at us. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care, guys.